Stefan, hey, aka Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our NBA morning. I'm sorry. We're here to present you our NBA live segment for Friday, March 8th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. And if you haven't came and checked out the website already at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel, and Draftkings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. What up, Jay? How you doing, bro?
Yo, tongue twisted. That's how busy we are.
Yeah, my bad. Hey, long day. We're already to the end of our day, right before lock. Had a very long morning. My apologies. But yeah, man. So I mean, I'm ready just to jump into these questions real quick. Hey, we're only going to be on here for about 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, please get your questions in now. Jeremy's going to kind of give us a general overview of the news that we got going on, and we'll go from there. So go ahead and get us started, Jerry.
All right, so for Dallas, they've got Kleber out. Not really significant. Ben Simmons will play. Kevin Looney is going to come back. He's going to play. Sean Livingston will also be active, and Klay Thompson as well in that. There's not a whole lot going on news-wise outside of that. Like I said, Klay Thompson is active, coming off that sore right knee. And that's really it. Zizic for Cleveland, he's still going to be questionable. I haven't seen anything that's ruled him in yet. But I mean, that's really the news of the day. There's guys that still remain questionable. Ricky Rubio is more towards doubtful at this point, so I think that you can pretty much assume that he's not going to play. It doesn't help that we still don't have the news on Exum and NATO, but I do think even if those guys do happen to be active and play tonight, I think that Royce O'Neal is still safe and should still see a bump. Even with those guys active when Exum or NATO were active, Royce O'Neal was the chalk spot anyhow. He was the guy that was getting some runs. So I don't know if that really changed. Rubio is really the main domino there. So there's not a whole lot going on, but Klay Thompson being active, Ben Simmons was really the big piece that we were waiting on, and he says he's going to play.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, let me see where we're at question wise. It's gonna be a solid slate today. I think today's gonna be a solid slate. Gonna have some value, so we can pretty much do basically whatever we want. As far as if there's a couple guys that we want to pay up for, etc. But I mean, it's a pretty clear cut slate. I don't really expect. I mean, is there any news that you feel we're really waiting for, or we pretty much got everything?
I mean, we still need to see what's going to happen with Dragic. That should drop here pretty quick. The problem with tonight's slate is that it's moved back, and what I mean by that is normally the 7 p.m/4 p.m. time slot is usually loaded with 3 to 4 games, and they've got a couple at 4:30, a couple at 5, and then 2 late. So everything is blocked into this 5 o'clock/8 o'clock hour. So there's news that typically we would get prior to lock, especially with you looking at a Miami situation. That game's in Miami, normally a 7 p.m. Eastern start. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern start tonight. So there's some news we may not get before lock because we've got a bulk of games pushed back.
Yeah, for sure. So a question for me, I kind of have for you, just, we're waiting for some questions. Who do you think is a guy that we want to pay up for tonight?
Man, I think that here's the deal, right?
Really quick, before you get into that, I'm going to throw this in there in the mix because this kind of goes along that this may be a guy we want to pay up for. So John wants to know, are we taking Drummond, a guy that we could pay up for, or are we taking the savings with the mid-tier center and paying up elsewhere? It kind of goes hand in hand. That's why I wanted to throw that in there for you.
Yeah, so for me, I'm doing both because I'm more of a tournament player. If I was going to pick one guy in cash, I would probably pick Drummond just because I feel like his floor is a double-double. I feel more comfortable with that for cash. I'm not saying there's anything against Capella. The second reason for that is you can look right here at a guy like Frank Jackson who's going to start at 3.7, and I was big on McConnell. That's what I was going to start by saying. I was big on McConnell if he was going to be the chalk spot tonight, but you could still continue your build the same way and probably pay up for 3 guys. We were messing around with some chords earlier before we had a business call we had to get on, and really you had Amir Johnson, you had Wayne Ellington, you had Royce O'Neal, and then at that time we were thinking maybe McConnell, but you can still get those 4 value plays in a lineup and pay up in multiple spots and feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely Definitely agree with you. Next question we got. Do we like Ingles and Mitchell? So I'm gonna keep it real with you. I mean, obviously, we're still. This is another piece of news that we're waiting on. Ricky Rubio is doubtful, so I'm gonna say he's not gonna play. But with the NBA right now, I mean, a guy could be doubtful and all of a sudden he's starting. That's really what it is. If we really feel that Rubio is going to be out today, then I think that Mitchell and Ingles both definitely get a usage bump, and they get a bump altogether on the slate. It's just all about it if Rubio is really going to be out or not. That's the biggest thing for me. Next question is Butler and Harris still a decent play, even though Ben Simmons is going to play today?
One more time.
Is Butler and Harris still a decent play, even though Ben Simmons is going to play?
This game for me, I can't figure this game out, and I'm just going to briefly touch on it. The spread at 7 didn't make any sense to me this morning when Ben Simmons was game time decision and really doubtful because he didn't participate in shoot around, right? So he's been upgraded basically from didn't participate in shoot around to playing. I didn't get the spread at that time, but at that time you did know that, look, Butler and Harris would get an uptick in usage. At this point, to me, I think they're still in play. I mean, look, there's not much that's changed. We know Ben Simmons doesn't have a great jump shot, and he's not a real good scorer. His triple-doubles are typically in the neighborhoods of like 12 points, right? He's not a 20-point guy. So you've got hoops to be made by Butler and Harris. I think that Jimmy Butler has a really good matchup. Tobias Harris will draw P.J. Tucker, who's a harassment defender, put him in the neighborhood of a Patrick Beverly or one of those guys. So I would give the edge a little bit to Butler because I think if it's going to stay close, Butler's got to score. They have to have somebody score. Their most pure scorer is Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with you. Definitely.
And if you watched the Chicago game the other night, that was a big narrative spot for him, right? Two things happened in that game. One, we have said all year long, take centers against the Bulls, right? Amir Johnson was just – he got off, and it affected Butler and it affected Tobias Harris in the worst way. There was so many possessions Tobias Harris never touched the ball because McConnell, especially when he was in, would get right into the elbow, and Amir Johnson just killed them.
Right. We got about 4 more minutes. Any questions you got, get them in. Another question we got, John said Drummond got a 20-point, 20-rebound game last time in this spot. And Washington and Charlotte is also a great game to stack. I would agree with you, John. That is a good game to stack. Really like Drummond as well. Next question, Edwin wants to know, do we like Capella or Gallinari? For me, it's Capella. Who you liking right there?
Capella all day.
Capella easily, right? Yeah, Edwin. So Capella easy. Thoughts on Kimba? I think Kimba is a fair price, and I think Kimba is in a solid spot. It's going to be a very up-tempo game, very high total. We always like Kimba when he is at home. So I definitely think Kimba is in play. Maybe a little bit more of a GPP play, but I do like Kimba either way.
I really feel like Kimba's going to be owned today for a couple of reasons. One, the spot he's in, and then two, the way lineup builds are constructed. It's kind of leaving you with that $9,000 to $9,100 on the board. And I feel like at 91, you got Steph Curry, but if you're building with Durant, I feel like people are going Kimba.
Right. Just one quick comment. KW said Gallo versus Paul George's defense, he'll pass. I completely understand. But at the same time, I do want to throw out there they have been playing Gallo a lot at the power forward position and playing a little bit smaller. So it's not necessarily Gallo is going to see Paul George's defense the whole entire game. I still think that Gallo is a decent GPP play. Thoughts on Walker and Bill being paired together? I think it's a solid game stack. I wouldn't do it for cash, but GPPs, if you're looking for kind of a game stack situation, if it is going to be a pretty close game, it's going to be high scoring, it is probably going to be because Walker and Bill did kind of go off together. Next question, the best power forward play. Who do you think is the best power forward play?
I mean, Blake's really underpriced, but so is Draymond. I think he's underpriced as well, and I think it's a pretty decent spot for Draymond. Draymond should be a high usage guy today in this type of a game. They run the offense through him. They try to run it through Boogie, and it's kind of gone back to Draymond. So I think Draymond is really, really fair priced. I think those are your two guys, Blake and Draymond.
Yeah. Jamal Murray versus the Warriors. I think that's a decent play. I mean, the price tag is fair, 6.6. Probably a little bit more of a GPP play. He's played him 2 times this year. And hasn't had really the best games. He had a game where he just dudded 8 fantasy points, and he had one where he scored 33 fantasy points. If he's going to give me 33 fantasy points like he did last game against the Warriors, hey, that's value. You move on. He does have 44. He does have 40 to 50 fantasy point upside. So my take on Jamal Murray is he's a fair price tag, so he is in play. If he was in at the 7,000s, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But at this price point, I think that Murray is a decent play. Dragic is playing. That's an update that just came in, so that kind of takes some of the other guys off of the board for the Heat things. Harrell tonight in GPP. Harrell is pretty much a GPP play any night. He has upside. The guy is a fantasy points per minute monster. It's just all about minutes with Harrell. So he is a GPP play. Better GPP play tonight, Paul George or Bradley Beal?
Man, I think Paul George.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though second in of a back-to-back, I still think Paul George for sure. So,
Paul George also had a streak broken last night of multiple three-pointers in a game, and Paul George hasn't played great, and then he set out with the shoulder thing. You know, I know it's on a back-to-back, but I think all of those factors, you're talking about a pure GPP play, I think all of those factors kind of keep a guy lower owned. To me, that makes him a better GPP play.
For sure. So, hey, that's all we got for you guys. Got to get out of here. Got to get my lineups done, finished, etc. Thank you very much for checking out this NBA live segment. You want to play the actual lineups that we're playing tonight? You want to mess with the optimizer or read some last-minute articles before lock? Hey, check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Make sure and follow us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at DFS Cheat Sheet. Outside of that, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out, fellas.